I was watching a horror movie. A masked man with a chainsaw was chasing a girl. The girl turned her head in terror, and I was stunned to see it was me. The movie ended. As I was about to leave the theater, a masked man appeared before me. He raised his chainsaw high. My phone buzzed with a text. I impatiently pulled it out. It was my colleague, Alex. "Jack, Team 3 has a mission soon. The tyrant says they're short-handed and insisted on dragging me along. He's totally disrespecting you. You gotta come back to HQ and get me out of here." I snorted, my fingers flying across the keyboard. I'm still on leave. Going back to work during my vacation would make me drop dead from a heart attack. For your captain's sake, so I can live a few more years, you'll just have to tough it out. Seeing sent on the screen, I quickly turned off my phone. I'm a paranormal investigator, specializing in all sorts of supernatural anomalies. Supernatural anomalies are buildings that have become warped for unknown reasons. They're characterized by bizarre interiors, phenomena that science can't explain, and they actively try to kill people. Anomalies had been popping up a lot lately, and HQ was short-staffed. If I went back now, I'd definitely be roped into overtime, even though it was Saturday, 8 o'clock at night. Everyone knows that bosses who force employees to work overtime are just asking to be struck by lightning. For the director's personal safety, I absolutely couldn't go back. This wasn't me slacking off, it was genuine concern for my boss's well-being. But I couldn't go home either. I'd chosen my apartment complex for its convenience, it was just across the street from the bureau. Running into a colleague on my way home would be a disaster. Wondering where to go, I looked up and realized I'd unconsciously walked up to a movie theater. The movie theater looked fancy. The decor was brand new, the sign prominent. Neon lights flickered at the entrance, and a huge screen on the facade was looping different movie trailers. I watched the trailers for a bit and noticed they were all thrillers and horror movies. Anyone who's dealt with various anomalies becomes immune to all horror movies. Those adrenaline-pumping horror scenes seemed dull and uninteresting to me. Just as I was about to walk away, I saw a team of investigators heading in this direction. Their armbands had a 3 on them, it was Team 3, currently on a mission. One of them looked very familiar, Alex, who had just texted me. I absolutely couldn't let them see me, or I'd be dragged into work. In desperation, I ducked into the movie theater. Boring or not, even falling asleep during a movie was better than overtime. The moment I stepped inside, I knew something was off about this theater. The entire lobby was pitch black, not a sliver of light to be seen. Ticket kiosks, a popcorn machine, and arcade games were lined up together, all powered down, like figures lurking in the dark, exuding an unsettling, cold vibe. The waiting area was empty. I scanned the concession stand, it was deserted, no staff in sight. Strange. Was this theater not even open for business yet? Just as I was about to turn and leave, a dim red glow suddenly appeared in the distance. A door was ajar, the light seeping out from within. I looked up, above the door was a 4. It was Theater 4. But I remembered clearly, this place had been pitch black just moments ago, no lights, and certainly no theater door open. Interesting. An immersive haunted house type of theater? My interest piqued, I walked in without hesitation. The theater was already filled with quite a few audience members, all engrossed in the screen. The movie playing was set in a haunted old house, where a group of people was frantically trying to escape an evil spirit. I watched for a while and finally realized what was wrong. These audience members were too quiet. The movie was full of violence and gore. Every 3 to 5 minutes there was a graphic close-up, like guts being ripped out or brains being smashed. These scenes should have been unbearable for ordinary people, but there wasn't a sound from the audience. Even the 7 or 8-year-old kids didn't let out a single scream. This was too strange. Just as I was wondering, the movie reached its end. The final shot was of a ceiling panel falling and crushing a man into pulp. His right hand was severed, hanging by just a flap of skin. An eyeball rolled onto the floor, its pupil staring straight ahead, as if looking right at me through the screen. The movie ended, yet the audience remained deathly silent. No one got up to leave, no one spoke, no one even moved. Too quiet as a room full of corpses. A chill ran down my spine. Just then, a strange sound came from above, like a steel plate cracking. The ceiling in front of me was splitting open at a visible rate. In the blink of an eye, an entire steel panel fell, landing squarely on a male audience member. The man was sitting in the row right in front of me, so I saw it clearly. He was instantly crushed into pulp by the steel panel, his right hand severed, connected to his arm by only a thin flap of skin. One of his eyeballs rolled twice on the ground and stopped at my feet. I looked down and met its gaze. This man, his cause of death and the state of his body, were identical to what was in the movie. At the same time, the previously motionless audience members all turned their heads towards the man's corpse and applauded enthusiastically. Without exception, they all wore exaggerated smiles, as if they had just watched a fantastic film and were genuinely expressing their delight. What made me gasp was that above those exaggerated smiles were two dark, bloody sockets. They had no eyes. Then what had they been watching? Experience told me this movie theater had degenerated into an anomaly. Thinking of Team 3, whom I'd seen just before entering, my face fell. I'd run into a movie theater to avoid being forced into overtime, and now I'd single-handedly taken on their entire team's workload? Way to go, Jack. Before I could beat myself up about it, a bright light flashed before my eyes. I instinctively looked up and saw the screen light up again, starting the next movie. No, it wasn't showing a movie, it was a preview of death. I just didn't know who the next unlucky audience member would be. In the movie, a short-haired girl was running for her life. Behind her, a masked man with a chainsaw was unhurriedly chasing her. The chainsaw was caked with blood and bits of bone and flesh. The girl was clearly the masked man's next target. The camera cut to a close-up of the girl's face. I frowned, looking at her features, contorted in terror. I never thought I'd one day be in a movie theater watching a film starring myself. So, the next unlucky audience member was me. My gaze swept across the audience, stopping on a figure in the row in front of me. Even just seeing his back, I recognized him as the man who had just died right before my eyes. And now, he was sitting upright, engrossed in the movie, as if he hadn't died at all. I leaned forward slightly, using the light from the screen to see his profile. Sure enough, his face also had only two dark sockets where his eyes should have been. In the movie, the masked man quickly caught up to me. He raised his chainsaw high, about to cut me in half. If the me in the movie was killed, then in reality, I would definitely not escape being hunted down. Without hesitation, I pulled out the photon gun I always carried and, turning, fired at the light source of the projection booth. If I destroyed the projector, the movie couldn't play, and I naturally wouldn't die. After 2 shots, black smoke, from the machine being fried, billowed from the projection window. The movie on the screen immediately stopped, turning black. A commotion rippled through the audience, as if everyone was upset about the movie being forcibly stopped. Worried about any sudden moves, I gripped my gun tightly, wary of the audience members around me. But the commotion only lasted a moment before stopping. The audience members began to leave in 2s and 3s, heading out. I got up, ready to follow the crowd. After taking 2 steps, I froze, staring at the doorway. A masked man holding a chainsaw stood there. 2 dark holes in his mask revealed a gloomy, menacing gaze fixed on me. He wanted to kill me. A hole was burned into the masked man's forehead by the high-speed photons. Dark blood oozed out continuously, quickly soaking the carpet beneath him. The film had been forcibly stopped, yet what happened in the movie still happened to me. So, even though I'd taken out the masked man with 1 shot, I wasn't in a good mood. Dragging myself into this extra work was bad enough. The eerie feeling of being in a movie plot made me even more agitated. I sighed, holstered my gun, and got up to leave. All the audience members had gone to the lobby. There had to be a clue there. The lobby, at some point, had become operational again. Warm yellow light slanted down from above, the popcorn machine rumbled, and the air was filled with the sweet smell of caramel. But all the audience members had vanished. The place was still empty. "Hello, ma'am. I'm a staff member here. Would you like some popcorn?" A slightly hoarse voice sounded beside my ear. I whirled around. A man in a brand new employee uniform stood before me, a fake friendly customer service smile plastered on his face. He was very close to me, so close I could even feel the icy chill of his breath. This made me very uneasy. After realizing the movie theater was an anomaly, I was on high alert, but I hadn't heard him approach at all. Casually taking a step back to put some distance between us, I said coolly, "Not a fan." "No thanks." He had a name tag on his chest, name, Leo. After being refused, Leo's expression didn't change, but I could clearly feel the movie theater's environment gradually warping. The warm yellow light overhead slowly turned blood red. The ticket kiosk started spitting out movie tickets non-stop. Each ticket had a face on it, and the face on the topmost ticket was precisely that of the man who had been crushed by the ceiling panel not long ago. The sound of the popcorn machine grew louder. Countless popped kernels deformed as they rolled rapidly, turning into eyeballs. Now I knew where all those audience members' eyes had gone. Leo walked over to the popcorn machine, filled a bucket with popcorn, and handed it to me. "Ma'am, it's our theater's grand opening special. All movies are free. Popcorn is our signature snack, and every guest gets one. Please don't refuse." His face still wore that customer service smile, but the threat in it was palpable. I refused once, and the entire lobby started to warp. If I refused a second time, I might be attacked. I looked at the popcorn bucket in his hand. Countless eyeballs, still trailing bits of flesh and nerves, stared greedily at me, as if I were food. Pretty disgusting. I reached into the popcorn bucket and grabbed an eyeball. Maybe it was my imagination, but when I reached out, Leo's hand flinched slightly, as if he was afraid I'd touch him. In front of Leo, I crushed the eyeball and grinned brightly. "Well, thank you then." Perhaps because I wasn't scared, Leo's expression soured. He quickly excused himself, saying there was an equipment malfunction in Theater 4 that he needed to repair, and promptly disappeared from my sight. I watched him go, my gaze hardening. It wasn't that I was careless, he really made no sound when he walked. The movie theater was too bizarre. A sense of danger washed over me again, a voice in my head urging me to leave. I turned and looked towards the theater's main entrance. The doors weren't closed. I could even clearly see the crowds of people walking on the street outside. Could it be that this movie theater wasn't sealed off? Could I actually walk out? I tentatively walked outside and, surprisingly, found myself back on the street. The moon hung high, streetlights shone brightly, and crowds of people bustled past me. I took a couple of deep breaths, stunned a moment before it sank in. Why? Generally, anomalies didn't let humans who stumbled into them escape so easily. Was it because I had dodged the masked man's pursuit and hadn't eaten those obviously wrong eyeballs? Unable to figure it out, I gave up thinking about it and looked around for Team 3. If I could hand this movie theater case back to Team 3, I'd be off the hook. But I stood there for a long time and didn't see anyone from Team 3. I tried to call Alex, but my phone was dead. Just as I was stressing out, a guy in a black shirt walked past me. He was looking down at a live stream, and a cool female voice drifted from his phone to my ears. "Hello everyone, I'm psychic streamer Lily, specializing in fortune-telling, love readings, and financial forecasts." My pupils instantly dilated. My attention had been focused on finding people. Now that I'd snapped back to reality and carefully recalled everyone I'd seen since leaving the theater, I realized just how bizarre a situation I was in. This guy in the black shirt was passing me for the third time. Each time, he was looking down at the same live stream on his phone, and each time, the content was the same streamer's self-introduction. The voice, tone, and lines were all identical. I tailed the guy, following him for a while, and figured out what was going on. He was walking in a continuous loop. Including the other pedestrians, everyone was walking a repeating path. Every few minutes, they would reappear in front of me. Some were chatting with companions, some were scrolling on their phones, some were reading books. But all the conversation content, phone screens, and book pages were completely unchanging. I stood at the crossroads, watching the endlessly repeating, mechanically passing crowd, and finally realized I had fallen into a strange loop. In other words, I was still trapped in the movie theater's space I hadn't left at all. And just then, a rusty old bus, looking like it was going 5 times normal speed, hurtled towards me. The surrounding pedestrians all turned their heads towards me at once, their faces frozen in stiff, horrified expressions. Like puppets who already knew the script, they were acting out the appropriate reactions as the plot progressed. Countless dark pupils stared at me, as if weaving a large net with their gazes, trying to trap me in place. I sighed in annoyance. My left leg bent slightly, the joint of my mechanical leg compressed. Following previously inputted memory commands, it unleashed a powerful thrust, quickly propelling me to the side of the street. A loud bang echoed from behind me, followed by a teeth-grinding crunch. The bus tore through the spot where I had been standing and crashed into a newsstand. Its front end was severely impacted, caved in deeply, and countless magazines and newspapers were crushed between the bus and the newsstand. I glanced at it coldly, knowing full well that if I didn't have my mechanical leg, if I were just an ordinary person, my body would be the one crushed by the front of that bus. The onlookers stared at me, stunned, unsure how to react. After a long moment, they resumed their original states one after another, continuing along their predetermined paths. Like an automated program that had experienced a brief crash. An utterly absurd guess instantly popped into my head. And in the following 10-odd minutes, several more collisions thoroughly confirmed my suspicion. All the pedestrians and vehicles on the road had fixed, looping routes. The only variable was that bus. It tirelessly hunted me. No matter where I went, it would quickly appear behind me. After escaping its already battered front end for the 6th time, it finally exploded from excessive damage, the entire vehicle engulfed in flames. I breathed a sigh of relief, thinking I had finally escaped. But a few minutes later, a giant fireball sped towards me. The bus's body rapidly melted in the high-temperature flames, soon becoming just a metal frame. But it still hadn't given up chasing me. After another narrow escape, I finally understood what kind of bizarre trap I had fallen into. I hadn't left the movie theater, I had entered another reality movie. And I had become the protagonist. Being hit by the bus was my destiny as the protagonist, which was why it kept attacking me. And those pedestrians were the extras in the movie, which was why they acted like puppets, endlessly repeating their routes. In Theater 4, I had destroyed the projector. The movie playing at the time was forcibly interrupted, and the me in the movie was spared from being hacked to death by the masked man. I looked up and around. If I reasoned according to this logic, then to completely escape the bus's pursuit, I needed to destroy the projector of this reality movie I was currently in. For a movie playing in a theater, the projector is in the projection room. So, where would the projector for a reality movie be? My gaze returned to the movie theater. When I stepped back into the movie theater, the clamor from the street outside suddenly vanished. I subconsciously glanced back and saw that all the pedestrians and vehicles had frozen. Like a movie that had been paused. And now, the interior of the theater was different from what I had seen the previous 2 times. The entire inside was extremely dilapidated, the air filled with a putrid smell of decay. Everything in sight was covered in dust and cobwebs. I took 2 steps forward, and my footprints appeared clearly in the dust, becoming perfect tracking marks. The seats in the lounge area were tattered, the stuffing exposed in many of a sickly yellow color that was deeply unsettling. Small insects buzzed around the stuffing clearly, it was the source of the rotten smell in the air. The popcorn machine, previously filled with eyeballs, had been smashed by something. A hole was broken in its glass, and its outer decal had completely oxidized, the once bright colors now dark yellow and scorched black, making the whole look incredibly grotesque. The size of the hole was peculiar, just about the size of a human head. Its edges were smeared with reddish-brown stains. I dabbed a bit of the stain on my fingertip and rubbed it was dried blood. I looked up, my gaze sweeping around again. The hum of a machine suddenly buzzed in my ear. Next to the popcorn machine was a ticket kiosk. The main body of the machine was gone, leaving only a few metal frames for support. But as I watched, it suddenly started working. The rusty machine vibrated. Even though the electrical components were missing, the red light on top was now flashing incessantly. After a grating screech that was practically noise pollution, the ticket slot began to continuously spit out stacks of yellow movie tickets. I picked them up one by one to examine them. The movie titles were all different, but they all looked like cheesy B-grade horror flicks. The most obvious commonality, however, was that all the movies were playing in Theater 4. After checking them, just as I was about to toss the tickets, I suddenly felt something was wrong with their texture. Comparing them to the other ticket stubs piled on the floor, I realized they weren't printed on standard movie ticket paper. They were human skin. The movie tickets spat out by the creepy kiosk were all made of human skin. The surface and texture of each piece of skin were different, indicating they came from different people. Ugh, disgusting. I disgustedly threw the skin in my hand onto the floor. A soft chuckle reached my ears. You're not even scared. You really are different from the others. Leo, still in that pristine employee uniform, wore the same fake friendly smile. I discreetly glanced at the ground behind him. There were no footprints in the thick dust. Leo's eyes were dark and dull, devoid of any light, making his smile look as stiff as a mask. You shouldn't have escaped. You should have accepted your fate and died in the movie. It's necessary to complete the film. You've ruined 2 of my works. I raised an eyebrow in surprise. So you admit it? Admit what? I picked a seat where the stuffing wasn't completely rotten and plopped down. Office Drone Survival Guide 101, even when negotiating with a client, sit if you can, don't stand. Besides, I was genuinely tired after all that running around outside. Looking at Leo's annoying smile, I sighed. Admit that you're the core of this anomaly. Since I stepped into this movie theater, I'd met quite a few people. But whether it was the masked man with the chainsaw or the extras wandering the streets outside, they were all supporting characters in a movie, faithfully following a script, with no thoughts of their own. Only Leo was different. He was the only one who could deviate from the script, appear before me at any time, and converse freely with me. More importantly, he had just said those 2 movies were his works. In other words, all the dangers I had experienced were his creations. He was the projector of this reality movie. After hearing my analysis, Leo's smile widened a bit, and he readily admitted, that's right. This movie theater is my domain. Everything here was meticulously constructed by me. I love movies, this is my dream. Generally, the core of an anomaly uses its control over the building to kill people. Comparatively, the core's true form doesn't have much offensive capability and is more vulnerable. Therefore, many cores like to hide in the shadows, waiting for their prey to die in traps they've set themselves before emerging. Leo could approach me silently, yet he only used movies to try to kill me. This meant he couldn't attack me directly, and perhaps even lacked the ability to protect himself. I asked, somewhat puzzled, why aren't you hiding? Why deliberately expose yourself to me? This didn't align with the typical self-preservation instincts of an anomaly's core. Leo's two dark eyes stared straight at me. Because they didn't reflect light, his gaze was utterly vacant. It felt like I was looking at a dead man. He grinned, his voice laced with pleasure. Yeah, why don't I hide? Want to take a guess? I tilted my head, feigning confusion. Why guess? Can't I just kill you? Before Leo could react, I raised my photon gun, aimed at his forehead, and pulled the trigger. The high-speed photons burned a black hole in Leo's forehead. The unchanging smile remained on his face, like a mask he couldn't remove even in death. With a thud, his stiff body hit the ground, kicking up a cloud of dust. Dark, foul blood oozed from the back of his head. The surrounding dust absorbed the blood and began to clot, resembling piles of dead insects. When the core dies, a building that has become an anomaly should quickly disintegrate. I waited quietly. 1 second, 2 seconds, 3 seconds. The main walls and ceiling of the movie theater didn't budge, showing no signs of collapsing. I instinctively looked down and saw an utterly astonishing sight. Before my shocked eyes, the blood flowing from Leo's head rapidly receded. In the blink of an eye, the black hole in his forehead also vanished. Leo slowly got to his feet, as if he hadn't died at all, merely taken a nap. Meeting my icy gaze, that incredibly disgusting smile of his sprang back to life. The answer is, from the moment you entered Theater 4 and saw the movie on the screen, you fell into the movie world I created. Every scene you've experienced since then has been a movie scene directed by me. The masked man chasing you, the extras endlessly wandering outside, even the me standing before you now, all of them are my avatars. The one you just killed wasn't my true self. Of course, I wouldn't die. Leo spread his arms, closed his eyes, and tilted his head back in enjoyment, waiting to hear my desperate screams. After a long silence, he reopened his eyes and stared at me, dumbfounded. You didn't understand what I meant? This entire place is made up of movies I created. Every character in every movie is me. My true self is hidden among thousands of avatars. You'll never find it. In other words, you can't possibly kill me. And before you even get a chance, you'll die in one of the movie's chases. You might escape one or two, but there are hundreds, thousands more movies waiting for you. You'll be worn down and killed eventually. I nodded calmly. No need to explain in such detail. I get it. Leo looked at me, speechless, as if I were some kind of monster. Aren't you afraid of death? I rolled my eyes. If I say I'm scared, will you let me out? Stumped by my retort, Leo's expression turned ugly. That extremely repulsive smile finally vanished, replaced by a venomous look. All the movies I create are horror films. In every one, you're the protagonist being hunted. When you're at death's door, I doubt you'll still be this calm. With that, he turned and left without a backward glance, disappearing into the depths of a dark corridor. The dust on the floor remained undisturbed. There were still no footprints. I sat there for a moment, then burst out laughing. The Bureau had a total of 15 investigation teams, and each team had its own usual approach to dealing with anomalies. Team 3, which was supposed to handle this place, was led by Frank, a man in his 40s, rough, bad-tempered, impatient, all brawn and no brains. That's why everyone at the Bureau secretly called him the Tyrant. Logically, for each specific operation, different investigation strategies should be formulated based on the characteristics of the anomaly, and then the core of the anomaly should be targeted according to that strategy. But Frank was different. His strategy for all anomalies was the same. Brute force. Smash everything. His theory was that there was no need to investigate or ponder how an anomaly formed, its operational logic, or who the core was. As long as you violently flattened the entire anomaly space and eliminated all living beings within it, the core would naturally be dealt with. Core death, and the anomaly itself would collapse. This operational strategy was simple and efficient, but its drawback was the inability to collect information related to the anomaly, which wasn't beneficial for completely resolving the anomaly phenomenon as a whole. So, not everyone agreed with it. Of course, what was even more criticized was that the lack of investigation led to higher casualties. Otherwise, my team member Alex wouldn't have been dragged in to fill a body count. I looked up at the pitch-black ceiling. The ceiling wasn't a flat plane but sloped downwards at an angle of less than 90 degrees. From my perspective, the black ceiling looked like a black cliff, teetering, as if it were about to crash down on me at any second. I grinned, a silent laugh. Although I couldn't stand Frank, his approach was actually right for this place. The warped movie theater was the foundation of Leo's power. If I destroyed this place, those crappy movies he created would surely disappear along with it. And the characters in those movies, whether avatars or the real thing, naturally wouldn't survive either. So, why bother looking for the true self? Just blow the whole place up. My photon gun had 92% of its energy reserve left. It was the only weapon I had. I had to level the entire movie theater with this one gun before its energy ran out. When I was a rookie, my former captain, Captain Miller, taught me how to efficiently destroy a target when weapon energy was low. Just as a person's support points are the brain and heart, every anomaly has its own support points within its different spaces. Find these support points, and you can precisely destroy the anomaly from within. I aimed at a triangular iron plate in the upper right corner of the theater's main entrance and pulled the trigger without hesitation. A faintly blue beam of photons shot out at high speed, and the iron plate instantly vaporized into a puff of smoke. At the same moment, the entire main entrance exploded violently. Along with the sound of the explosion came the screams of Leo's many avatars on the street outside. The street wasn't originally part of the movie theater. For Leo to turn the external environment into a movie scene, he must have relied on some medium. The main entrance, as the conduit connecting the movie theater and the outside street, was the only medium. Once the scene where the movie could run was gone, those supporting characters would naturally disappear along with it. Theater 4 was the last place I needed to deal with. I stood at the entrance, behind me a ruin continuously billowing dust and smoke. The photon gun had 8% energy left. I had destroyed every room except Theater 4, and in the process, of course, I had escaped countless movie-style murder attempts. Leo hadn't appeared at all, and the movie theater showed no signs of collapsing. Odds were his true self was hiding in here. If I destroyed this place too, I should be able to get out. Just as I lifted my foot to step inside, I suddenly heard an extremely terrified, faint voice. "Miss, don't come in, you'll die." I followed the sound and saw a 7 or 8-year-old boy cowering in a corner, looking at me with a terrified face. I frowned and instinctively raised my gun at him. "Who are you?" The little boy immediately burst into tears, not even daring to wipe them away, and hurriedly explained, "Miss, please don't kill me, I'm a normal person. Mommy brought me to watch a movie, but the movies here are all so scary." I didn't dare to watch, so I just kept my head down and played on Mommy's phone. But when I looked up, I found Mommy was dead, and everyone here became so strange. I don't know what happened, and I didn't dare to go out, so I just stayed crouched here. I didn't dare to look at the big screen, and I didn't dare to look at those audience members without eyes. I could only watch the door. "Miss, you're the only person who's left this theater. All the other audience members who came in died, just like Mommy. I want to leave too, but I'm scared. I'm afraid they'll find me and kill me too." The more he spoke, the sadder he became, until his quiet tears turned into loud sobs. I waved the gun in my hand and sneered, crying so loudly, "You're not afraid they'll find you now?" The little boy choked, instantly stopping his sobs, an ingratiating smile appearing on his face. "Miss, you'll save me and get me out, right?" I was silent for a moment, then asked, "Why are you unharmed?" He immediately looked a bit smug. "Because I didn't watch the movie on the big screen. Many people died after coming in, Mommy too. They all watched the movie, and that's why they were hunted by the movie, and their deaths were exactly like in the movie." I nodded knowingly. "You're quite observant." The little boy smiled shyly and, mustering his courage, ran up to me, his upturned face full of longing. "Miss, you're still alive, and you have a gun. You must be really strong. Please take me out of here. I won't hold you back." I reached out and patted his head, a sweet smile on my face. "I know you won't hold me back. You're very smart. You didn't watch the screen, yet you know that those who died exactly like in the movie." The little boy's smile instantly froze on his face. He opened his mouth but couldn't make a sound. My hand was firmly clamped around his fragile neck. A little more pressure, and I could crush his windpipe. His face quickly turned red, then purple. I admired the changing colors for a moment and scoffed. "You said you created countless movies, but you can't even create believable characters. No wonder all the movies I've experienced were so crappy." A 7 or 8-year-old kid, so timid he doesn't even dare to watch horror movies, discovers his mom and the surrounding audience are dead, yet he manages to keep calm and hide himself. Encounters an unidentified person with a weapon, not only isn't scared but dares to strike up a conversation. Knows this theater is dangerous, doesn't run away, but instead warns me not to come in. The persona you've set up for yourself is so ridiculously contradictory, it's cringeworthy. Am I right, Leo? As my words fell, the little boy's features began to distort, gradually changing into Leo's face. He painfully squeezed out a sound from his throat. "You? How did you know it was me?" I casually rolled my eyes. "You said it yourself. From the moment I first entered Theater 4 and saw the big screen, I entered the movie world you created. In this virtual world, how could there be any real person other than me?" My hand was still applying pressure. Leo could barely make a sound, only managing a weak, wheezing whisper, "This body is just one of my avatars. You can't kill me. Even if you snap my neck, it will recover quickly. Instead of wasting your energy, you should think about how to escape." I chuckled lightly. "Stop pretending. Even though you disguised yourself, I know this is your true form." Leo's eyes widened instantly. His lips trembled as if he wanted to say more, but he had already lost his chance forever. With a sickening crack of breaking bone, his snapped neck could no longer support his head, which lolled limply to one side. Looking at his corpse, his eyes wide open in death, I shook my head disdainfully. When he faced me as an avatar before, he clearly could have attacked me barehanded, yet he always kept his distance and never actively touched me. This was probably a limitation of his avatars. But just now, disguised as a little boy, he actively approached me, not minding any physical contact at all, which was clearly different from his avatars. Exposing such a huge flaw, this guy really was killed by his own stupidity. At the same time, the remaining structure of Theater 4 began to shake violently, on the verge of collapse. I turned to walk towards the main entrance, waiting for the cinema to disintegrate. Suddenly, something I had overlooked before came to mind. Why did Leo try to stop me from entering Theater 4 earlier? I spun around abruptly. In my vision, the interior of Theater 4 was already collapsing. Ceiling panels were falling one after another, walls were cracking, seats were disintegrating. A strong sense of unease gripped me, like a hand squeezing my heart, making it hard to breathe. I took a deep breath, forced myself to calm down, and quickly recalled all the clues related to Theater 4. The first time I walked into the cinema, only Theater 4 was lit, as if deliberately luring me in. Only after I came out of Theater 4 did the cinema lobby start operating, and Leo appeared. The human skin movie tickets spat out by the automated ticket machine all listed Theater 4 as the screening location. Leo had said that only from the moment I saw the movie playing in Theater 4 did I enter the movie world he had woven. My eyes suddenly widened. I activated my mechanical leg and dashed towards Theater 4. The 4 hanging on the door was swaying precariously. I had to get back into Theater 4 before it fell. I understood now. All the abnormal phenomena started happening only after I walked into Theater 4. That place was the intersection between the anomaly and the real world. I had to return to Theater 4 before it completely collapsed. Otherwise, even if the anomaly disintegrated, I wouldn't be able to escape because I would still be in the movie world. Finally, just before the sign for Theater 4 fell, I rushed in. After a roar of concrete and steel plates crashing down, I heard my teammate Alex's wailing cry. "Jack! Your phone was off, I thought you'd abandoned me. I never expected you to go into the anomaly for me. You really..." I'm so touched I could cry. I didn't say a word, just sighed at the sky. I couldn't tell him. Everyone knew I was a slacker. If the real reason I entered the movie theater was discovered, I'd never live it down. After writing up my mission report, I started a new round of leave. The director, understanding the hardship of me resolving the anomaly alone, unbelievably gave me an extra long 1-month vacation. All active colleagues' mission reports are made public within the Bureau for easy information sharing. After Frank's Team 3 saw my report, they took turns blowing up my phone with messages. "You're a lifesaver." My captain would never have guessed Theater 4 was the exit. If we'd gone in to investigate, even if we leveled the cinema, we'd all have been wiped out. You're my savior. Jack, please accept this fan's admiration. You're too awesome. If my captain had half your brains, I wouldn't be on edge every mission, terrified I wouldn't live to see the next day. I accepted their thanks without any false modesty and sent a group reply. What can I say? Genius just can't be hidden. Yeah, I'm just that good.